3 players who raised their stock in training camp. The Montreal Canadiens began training camp on September 21 with 72 players on the roster. It gave them enough bodies to put together 3 full NHL rosters with a few extra skaters still hanging around. Their 9 goaltenders would have needed an entire dressing room themselves to spread out all that goalie gear. Obviously they had to cut things down quickly, and they did, leaving them just a handful of more cuts to make before the regular season begins. Their first game that matters takes place next Wednesday, October 11th, and they have to make their final decisions ahead of that contest. There were many roster spots already sewn up before training camp, but also many young players turning pro this season for the first time who were looking to make good first impressions. Even with the door seemingly locked and a path to an NHL roster spot unavailable, some players really outperformed expectations over the course of training camp. With 6 preseason games on the schedule, there was ample opportunity for players to put their best foot forward. A handful of younger players took advantage of the opportunity and greatly increased their stock, shooting up the organizational depth chart over the course of the past couple of weeks. Let's take a look at the 3 players who unexpectedly really stood out at camp and raised their stock within the organization the most during this year's training camp. Hey you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any Canadiens news. William Trudeau was a 4th-round pick of the Canadiens in the 2021 NHL Draft. He played the following season with the Charlottetown Islanders of the QMJHL and put up 8 goals and 44 points in 68 games before adding 7 goals and 11 points in 14 playoff games. He turned pro last season and earned a role with the Laval Rocket. The 20-year-old left-shooting defenseman ended up leading Rocket defensemen in points with 27 in 60 games. He displayed a quickness and intelligence on the ice that allowed him to defend well by being in the right position and also transition the puck up ice in a hurry with his acceleration and speed. Though he played well for the Rocket, he was overshadowed heading into this year's Canadiens training camp. However, he stood out in scrimmages, practices, and preseason action and heads into his 2nd AHL season with the Rocket as a player that needs to be watched closely thanks to his strong training camp. He is yet to make his NHL. Emil Heineman was a bit of an unknown when the Canadiens acquired him. He was part of the Tyler Toffoli trade, arriving in Montreal with a 1st-round pick for the Habs' former sniper. Heineman is just over 6 feet tall and nearly 200 pounds, but also has great skating and a fantastic shot. All of these attributes were on display during training camp, and has kept him on the roster much longer than anyone anticipated before training camp began. The Swedish winger arrived in North America late last season after his SHL campaign came to a close. He has 8 goals and 15 points in 35 games in Sweden, but immediately caught fire when he landed with the Rocket. He played 11 games to close out the AHL regular season, scoring 7 goals and 9 points. Mattias Norlinder has seen his stock in the Canadiens organization yo-yo up and down like a Twitter stock. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2019 NHL Draft, when he was still playing junior hockey in Sweden. The next season, he made Modo's top team and played a full year of professional hockey right after being drafted. He put up 18 points in 34 games that season and also made their World Junior team. The 2020-21 season saw him head to Frölunda to play in SHL, Sweden's best league, and he scored 10 points in 37 games. He had his ups and downs that season. Last season was a full year with the Rocket and he had 19 points in 67 games. He entered this year's training camp almost a forgotten young defenseman, but Norlinder has been exceptional so far in training camp and will have a chance to earn a role on the Canadiens with a strong game on Saturday night. Well, what do you think about this? Which of these 3 players has the most potential to shine for Montreal? Leave your opinion in the comments, I'd love to know what you think. And stay tuned to the channel because I'm always posting the latest news. Subscribe so you don't miss anything.